Welcome back, everyone. We're about to kick off Hollow Knight, but also I want to quickly mention that it's Wasabi's birthday. Can I get some happy birthdays in the chat? Anyways, it looks like talking to the Elderbug has won the bid war, so take it away, Wasabi.
Okay. We'll be counting down rather soon to start the game. In fact, I'll say time will start in 3, 2, 1, and you can start the timer. Be falling in any minute now.
Okay.
The loadless timer is a little different, so I tried to start it when the real-time timer would start, which is right before we fall into King's Faster, but I'll let Sylvie take away the early game commentary.
So hello everyone, I'm Sylvie. We're talking about Hollow Knight. The lore we get from the start is that an ominous light has taken over the kingdom of Hollow Nest. And I guess it's our goal to go and clear that. This light has sort of taken over as an infection, and we've taken it upon ourselves to try and clear that infection for the moment being. We won't really see much of that until we enter Deep Nest, but just know that it's definitely in the back of our minds as we traverse through this wonderful world. Right now, we're just heading through King's Pass. It's a bit of a linear section, though the rest of the game is definitely not so linear. As soon as we hop into a well, which you'll be seeing very recently, the one tiny entrance will be opened up to a massive area that will definitely be a wonder to explore.
Yeah, this well is the only entrance to what is described by the Elderbug, that character that we just passed, who we'll be saying hello to later. It's the only entrance to what he calls a vast kingdom. And when I first played the game, I found the idea of a vast kingdom kind of hard to believe, because when you explore this initial area, the crossroads, it doesn't seem like the game could really be that big. And man, is that the wrong impression, because this game is absolutely humongous.
Absolutely. Dropping in, you get like maybe the map of this one area. You're like, oh, alright, this is handleable. But then you go further and it's like, whoa. Anyway, I think we're coming up to Aspen Arena here, yeah?
Yeah, that's a little bit behind.
Yeah, you haven't streamed on Discord.
Right.
Sorry.
Alright, we're a little past it. I managed. Okay.
I was trying to get it early on the stream, but hey. Anyway, so as you can see, sometimes the little knight there will do a little swoosh. It's easy to assume that that's a sword, but it's actually our nail. That takes the place of what is usually a sword in this game. We'll be calling it nail throughout the most of the run, just to avoid confusion. With our nail comes tech called a pogo, which is when you down slash, and that gives us the ability to hop off of objects, creatures, and spikes. For example, statues and those little bugs that we went by. And we're coming up to some husks here, the first sign of the infection. I guess we've already probably passed one husk.
We have here the first boss of the game. It's quite an easy one in comparison to the bosses that we'll face later on. You give the wrong impression, but despite how easy it is, and despite the fact that it gives us 300 geo, our currency, very early on, we actually will be just breaking this wall and skipping it, because this boss's phases are very, very slow. And we don't have any damage to really deal with it in a much faster way, so rather than wait for it to go through all these cycles, we'll be finding our money elsewhere. And right now we're approaching the Ancestral Mound, the place where we will meet a shaman who will give us the first spell of the game, called the Vengeful Spirit. And in return for his gift, he will throw us in a dungeon and demand that we kill a monster that has inhabited it.
Stream on Discord.
That was a good time to switch over, just because
Okay.
we're at the Vengeful Spirit. Which there's a long animation that we can't skip. But anyway, now that we're here, we have the Vengeful Spirit. I might want to talk about a mechanic called Soul in the game. It's at the top left. It's right next to our masks, which is our HP. The Soul in this game is our mana bar, essentially. It allows us to do two things, one of which is healing and the other is casting spells. So in this game, that's a very important choice that you want to make. But for speedrunners, it's actually a very easy choice, because healing should be kept as a last resort measure, as we need all the soul we can to kill creatures like this Balder. Because spells are just the highest damage in the game. Oh my goodness. It's a little unfortunate RNG there. Three fake spits and then the Balder hit me. But yeah, killing enemies with the spells in this game are the fastest way to get rid of them. They're also used for various skips. Whereas healing, yeah, we're really only going to be doing in areas either where we can't use soul for spells at all, or if we are really, really dangerously low on HP in an upcoming area.
So for this run, we have actually down patched to an earlier version of the game, because this version allows for some minor glitches that we as speedrunners like to use. Coming up here, for example, is a quick kill on this Balder, where we get his aggro, go to the right, and we can kill him in one fireball, unlike the previous one, where we had to do 4. That's not available on the current patches of the game. And that was fireball skip. Did it. Lovely.
Yeah, that one's hard. I missed that one, I feel like about 50% of the time in my runs, but it only saves 4 seconds, so it's not a huge optimization to make sure that you get it. There's a much more important one coming up that we're actually farming soul for. And I don't know if I mentioned, but you actually get soul per hit on the enemies of this game. So it's very important to know exactly where you can farm these hits of soul, like these birds here. And just make sure that you have all the soul that you need for important skips like this fireball. Oh, alright.
Nice.
That one loses about 18 seconds if you miss, so...
There is a backup, but it's definitely not one you want to go for.
Yeah. And that's like one of the first sequence breaks of the game. We're not really supposed to be there. Okay, that was a bit of a miss. We're not really supposed to get up there right away, but it saves us a lot of time. Okay, you know what? We'll move past it.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most difficult ones right there. You need to take advantage of jumping off the ledge after you've already fallen off a little bit.
Yeah, we have...
Coyote frames, as we call it.
Yeah, like Wile E. Coyote running off the cliff before, you know, just running in midair for a little bit before he realizes that he's really fallen. Could have used some random coyote frames there. Unfortunately, random coyote frames don't exist. So. Did take a little bit of a fall, but won't be a big deal. No damage taken.
We are coming up to the first Moss Knight here. Mini boss, you could call it, though very quickly becomes just a regular enemy. Gives a lot of geo compared to other enemies, so we will be farming more of them coming up soon, along with some more geo rocks. Speaking of geo, that is the currency of this game. It's not gold or money. It is geo, little rocks that you collect from mostly enemies. There's other ways to get it, but this route is very much optimized so that we don't need to do the long-winded ways of gathering geo. For example, right about here, we'll be seeing 2 more Moss Knights and a bunch of geo. We're just waiting for the second Moss Knight to be in position to be able to fireball him like so. And we should just one hit away. There we go.
Yeah, and the fun thing is those knights are some of the most reactive enemies in the game. They can block their shields, so we actually have to do a special move, a jump and pogo to get rid of them. But now we're approaching the first major boss of the game, Hornet, who is unbeknownst to the player, our sibling. And she doesn't really seem interested in talking about it, because her goal is actually to kill us where we stand. So we're going to have to teach her a lesson that she won't soon forget. Normally, she's here to teach newer players the lesson, so it's fun to reverse the roles and just speed her up for a little bit. Don't worry though, she can take it. As she'll show us later on, she wasn't even trying in this fight.
Indeed. Here is the first instance of a hard save. We're going to quit out here to go back to a previous section of the game, Ancestral Man specifically. There are very select spots where the game will bring us back to a certain section every time. Like, for example, whenever we sit on a bench, or certain areas, like, for example, Ancestral Man here, you'll see in a second, which we didn't actually sit on that bench, but because
I
we
actually did
passed
sit
it-
on that bench because I
you
missed
did?
healing.
Okay.
I took a hit to the boulder and I had to sit on the bench. But even if I hadn't sat on that bench, we would have woken up there anyway. And
Fair enough.
it does save our abilities that we've earned. So in the early game, we're actually making a beeline for essentially that ability that we just picked up. It is our dash. The fastest way to get there is actually with the Vengeful Spirit spell. There are other ways, but they're very obtuse. No, they're not viable for speedruns, so we essentially just got there as fast as we could so that we could take advantage of this very quick movement to get into our next area, which Sylvie can talk about here.
Yeah, for sure. We've entered the fungal waste. Our goal in this area is to go get Mantis Claw, which will allow us to cling to walls and jump off them. Right now, it's just some nice sort of movement areas, but we are coming up to, I guess, sort of major skip the game called E-Pogo or Explosion Pogo. Another reason we run on this lower patch, or earlier patch, I should say, is that we can pogo, like I said before, the downswing with the nail on explosions. Definitely something that has been patched out in the recent patches, but we'll be seeing it here. We're just going to farm up a bit more rocks, a bit more geo, and then as soon as we get to the bottom of this room, you'll be witnessing it.
Huh.
Lovely. And then right away we have another pogo. It's Mantis Pogo, where we gotta go down low to open up a lever, but then we gotta get right back up. So we're gonna use these mantises here to be able to get back up.
I actually didn't have the soul that I was supposed to have there. I had to improvise a bit, but
It was a
that ended
tiny
up
bit
working
scuffed,
out.
but it worked.
Yeah, I have a lot of practice on that trick in a different run where we don't have dash, so it's a lot harder to get up there. Having that practice always saves me from situations like that. Very fortunate to have that. Now we're quitting out a second time. We're quitting out for our second time, going back to the Ancestral Mound for the third time. And we're going to be making our way to our next goal, which is the City of Tears, the eastern half specifically. Traditionally, most players are going to find the western half of the city much sooner than they find the eastern half, but they'll find the eastern half is completely inaccessible until they have unlocked a few things. But we're going to actually be using a bit of a sequence break involving an intentional death to make our way there. And on the way, we're going to be grabbing a couple of important items, or actually just one important item, the Shaman Stone, and also killing a little bit of a mini boss, though we'll make it look like not much of a boss by comparison.
Yeah. It's gonna look like basically the Moss Knight from before. Maybe a little more health, but here it is.
That was beautiful RNG too.
Nice.
Could have
And
played that a little better, prevented that attack from even happening.
It's gonna spawn some little gruz, as we call them. We're gonna see if we can clean them up really quickly too. Almost. It was really good, honestly.
Yeah, that was not bad. Not bad as gross cleanups go. All of those babies can can go in a huge spread. The worst one being going directly to the top, and we did manage to prevent that. And just keep them at ground level, keep them in arm's reach, essentially.
So here we got Shaman Stone. This is crucial to almost any speedrun of this game. It's going to boost the damage of our spells by a considerable amount. And it's definitely going to help with a lot of fights coming in. And we take the intentional death here to set up for a shade skip, which we will be seeing right here. Take the one hit, so it will die. And then, there you go. Yeah, just like that. It gives us a lot of extra height, which normally we wouldn't be able to get to this section here without it. But since we were able to manipulate a shade, which by the way, a shade is when you die. That is your, I guess, sort of Dark Souls equivalent of your soul. It holds your Geo, and then when you defeat it, you get your Geo back. But now we are heading to King Station. This is where a major deviation from the most popular speedrun of this game, 90%, happens. Normally would go up from here, but now we're going to the right and down this elevator so that we can get to Dash Slash as quickly as we can. Dash Slash is integral to the all-skill speedrun because it unlocks so much for us. It allows us to get spells, upgrades to our spells really early, and not to mention, it's mostly we're just getting spells really early with this, which allows us to defeat things very quickly. But that requires 800 Geo, and as you can see, we're not even halfway there yet. We still have a fair bit to go before we can afford that. So we're going to be coming up to Gorgeous Husk pretty soon.
Yeah, and that's a very important bench to take there, because if we quit out after Gorgeous Husk before taking that bench, we'll actually spawn. We'll spawn all the way back at Salubra, which is not a good idea. Salubra was the character that we bought the Shaman Stone from. We'd have to do the Shade Stone again. It's very slow. We had to take that bench there, because we'll be going back in the other direction anyway. And that should be good Geo. Excellent.
That was Gorgeous Husk, by the way. The single most valuable creature in all of Deep Nest. No, Hollow Nest. Dang it. Someone in the chat asked, by the way, what is your favorite skip in Hollow Knight?
My favorite skip? So I actually started Hollow Knight with some glitched runs. And I feel like it has to be one of those glitch runs, but I won't be talking about glitches, so I'll try and think of my favorite skip in terms of the no major glitches route, which is what we're doing today. It's probably the Isma skips combined.
Yeah.
We'll be showing them off actually in this run. It's a series of 3 skips. If you do them all correctly, it feels really, really good and saves a lot of time and potentially grief, as they can kill you as well, so. Yeah, but now we're actually at the hoppers. If you do this section wrong, as I just did it now, you're in danger of losing a lot of HP. Fortunately, I managed to only lose 1, but there's a lot of refined methods actually for killing those hoppers in a way that doesn't put you in danger. Just barely missed a couple of nail swings or dashes somewhere, but it's not going to end up mattering. We end up making it through with 800 Geo, which is exactly the amount Sylvie mentioned earlier, and we'll be able to talk to this nail master, and he'll be teaching us the dash slash.
Indeed. There's 3 nail arts in this game. We'll be collecting them all, of course. And this is the only one of the 3 that charges us money. The scam artist.
Yeah. It's also interesting that the only reason we get it so early is because we need all the skills in the game. And that's our primary goal. There are runs that have other much more important goals, like 106%, which is to collect almost all the optional stuff in the game, and they end up doing dash slash much later just because there's so much else to do. In this run, we know our priorities.
Absolutely. So we are coming up to what is a fairly scary split in this game called Soul Sanctum. There's a lot of RNG in the way of these enemies called Soul Twisters that teleport. They can not only teleport in your way, but also just teleport inside of you and you take a free hit of damage, which is never fun. That was a very clean lever skip, by the way. That was the first example of it, where you hit levers through the walls. That's also an exclusive to this earlier patch. We got dash slash because we'll be needing it to get to levers that are a bit further away from the wall. That wasn't an example, but that's basically how it will look like. But now that we have the dash slash though, we need to collect Shade Soul, which is the level up, I suppose, to Vengeful Spirit, the first spell we got, and he just used to defeat that Soul Twister there. We're going to head to the room over, and we'll be collecting it right away. Right, and the reason we want Shade Soul is because it's much easier to do what we call doubles. Here is the dash slash lever skip. Boom. Perfect. Opens up that door from the outside. It's basically like a lock.
Yeah, normally we'd have to fight a boss here to get all the way around. This room normally isn't this dark. You can tell that it's a little bit glitched if you're familiar with this game. But yeah, this Shade Soul, what it does here is it does double damage. It has a much larger hitbox, and now it can travel through walls. And before we even finish the Soul Sanctum split, we'll be using all three of those characteristics. The first of which we'll be demonstrating on this mini boss up here. He'll be dying in just 2 double hits and 4 nail swings.
Another lever skip.
Okay, or
unfortunately,
one
of those didn't double, so it's going to be a bit of a longer fight, but Sabi will be able to handle it, no issues.
Yeah, losing 2 HP there is not exactly something that I'd want to see, because this Soul Twister can be a huge jerk and teleport into our face. Hopefully he'll be nice today. Oh, he's being very nice. What a polite lad. Everyone give a hand to the Soul Twister for not being a jerk today.
Clap, clap, clap. And here's another lever skip. Boom.
Yeah, and that lever skip is way more important than I initially thought. It skips one of the hardest rooms in the entire game to get through. The Hell room, we call it. Sorry if that's not PG-13. I think it is, but it's incredibly destructive.
Coming up to Soul Master here, there's a quick kill that's really difficult to execute. Basically, you fireball right and then left, and you try to get as many hits as you can with the fireball. Oh, perfect.
I actually don't think that double is bad RNG.
Oh no. It's still an incredibly quick fight, though. Wow. Good work.
Thank you. The Soul Master can teleport much earlier or much later than you'd want him to, and that can just mean that the Shades, even if you do everything absolutely right, the Shade Soul will just miss a double hit, and essentially you miss out on half of your damage or 1/3 of your damage.
The fight's not over yet, though. There is phase 2, which it requires 6 nail hits and 2 fireballs. Oops. Missed the first one, but that's okay. We recovered. Totally fine.
Yeah, I was expecting the Soul Master to continue its attacks. It has a random. It can do anywhere between like 3 and 8 dives. And if it does more than 3, you have a chance to end those dives early. And I was anticipating more. I think he did 4. When he did his 4th one, I was anticipating a 5th, 6th, or even a 7th there, and it just didn't happen. I just missed my Shade Soul. But now that we have that, we just acquired the Soul Master's dive ability. This is the second major spell of the game. And it might look impressive smashing these smaller enemies, but right now it doesn't do all that much damage. The Shade Soul is actually much more effective when it comes to combat. But we're going to be remedying that because we are on our way to collect that upgrade. We're practically making a beeline for it, with only one short stop in between. But to get there, we're going to need 300 Geo, to access this game's fast travel system, the stagways. And the stagways are, well, they're designed for a certain bug that is like a beast of burden. It will carry us through the game quite quickly. The first place it will take us is right back to the starter area where we saw Elderbug, Dirtmouth. And yeah, it requires 300 geo for this first one. Some of the stag stations are free, but none of the ones that speedrunners would use in this category, so call it a speedrunner's luck.
Absolutely. There is quite an important note to come, though. We are going to be taking a bench right about now-ish. This is going to be our hard save for the next number of splits. There is quite a bit in between now and the next quit out. We have to collect a bunch of abilities, go through a bunch of areas and sections. It's actually quite scary for beginner runners, but Sabi is very experienced. He'll be able to handle it without much issue. A death here will cost many minutes, though, and we are a little behind on Geo, unfortunately. So we are going to have to kill one more thing before we can move on.
Yeah. We'll just get this guy here. Oh, nice. This guy's not in our way. A lot of the time, he can just be sitting right on top of those two smaller husks, protecting his little brothers. And even though he can't protect them from death, he can protect their Geo from my pockets. And that's a pretty annoying situation that we managed to avoid there. So yeah, there's a reason we like to collect all of our Geo before we reach that point, but I noticed we were a little bit low, and I greeded a bit, decided to try to skip some Geo. But this here is the stag we were talking about. He is actually a very loyal friend. Quite talkative for a beast of burden, actually. I don't think humans will hold conversations with their horses very often, but that man can talk up a storm.
I gotta admit, the first time I saw him, I was scared. I thought I had a fight on my hand.
Speaking of fights, though, we are actually dashing past the Black Egg Temple. The sole resident of that temple is actually the final boss of the game, believe it or not. And even though that temple is accessible early on, there is a door inside some seals that are sealed with a powerful magic that we will need to weaken as the game goes on. And that powerful magic we'll be talking a little bit about it later, but it's just fun that you can access the end game area essentially so early on. But coming up, we have a very important split here, and Sylvie can take it away with some commentary about the movement leading up to the next ability we're getting.
Yeah, so this is Crystal Peaks. It is a very cycle-heavy area with some really neat tricks. The first trick, never mind. We are coming up to some cycle rooms after we deal with this slum back there. We just gotta climb a bit. Cycle means everything is laid out exactly the same as always, and it rotates in cycle. We know the cycles very well, so we're going to be able to just fly through them using some very particular movements. And yeah, we got through without an issue. And there's one more cycle room coming up. Sabi handled that one very well. Let's hope he can do this one. Very nice. And sneak by that laser. Perfect. Very well done. There's one more cycle room coming up here, but we have to just go through this section first.
The goal of this whole area is to acquire something called the Crystal Heart. It is the ability of Super Dash. It's a charged dash, and while it comes at the cost of a charge, it has infinite horizontal length and is the fastest ability in the game. And yeah, we'll be using that quite frequently, and it was needed for the all skills run anyway.
Absolutely. It is, in fact, a skill. Underplat, let's go. Underplat is when you dash under a platform, and Savi just executed that beautifully. and we are now collecting Crystal Heart.
Save-
Dash.
Underplat saves an unbelievable amount of time, chat. Should always go for it.
Always, every time.
But now that we have the Crystal Dash, you'll be seeing this Charge Dash here. We're just flying over huge chunks of crystal here. And yeah, you can see just how fast it is. But funnily enough, because of that charge time, dashing is actually much faster in shorter bursts. And coming up is actually a dark road that normally would require the lantern to traverse. But since we don't have time to buy any fancy lights, we're going to be going through there with sheer memorization. And sea dashing through it is actually the safest strat, but I'll be dashing.
Yeah, he knows how to get through this area with utmost speed.
There's a
We'll
little
give
bit
that
off cycle there.
we'll give that a take 2. He knows how to get through here with utmost speed. Yes, okay.
There we go. Just one little bit of missed movement, being a little too far forward there. Took a little bit out of me. I wasn't quite sure where I was. It's very easy to get lost in a room that's basically pitch black. Didn't want to run into any enemies there and endanger myself further. So I tried to take a safer route, but we made it anyway.
Here we are at Crystallized Mound, though. This is a bit of a scary area because you can get wombo comboed down, but at 4 health that won't happen. And we are here at another Snail Shaman. This will give us Descending Dark and upgraded our Desolate Dive. We're going to do a little trick here where we dash slash into it, and it'll save our animation and slide us off into the crystals there, which will give us early control as it gives us Descending Dark. Normally can't move through this, but we just get to fly out now.
Yep. And now we're on our way to collect the only ability in the game that every single category, whether glitched or glitchless, has to acquire: the Dream Nail. Dreams are a really, really prominent theme in this game because that is actually the way that the infection that we talked about earlier is transmitted. And these characters here, as we'll see them appear, the Dreamers, found a way to wield the power of dreams to protect the final boss, the Hollow Knight. And we're going to be using this ability called the Dream Nail, which, you know, given that nails are swords in this universe, can be translated to the Dream Sword. We're going to use this Dream Nail to slay those dreamers to weaken the seals on the Hollow Knight's temple.
Yeah. We'll be seeing that almost immediately after we get the Dream Nail. But for now, we're just going to fly through the Dream World, say hi to this moth. We'd love to see it. Another underplat, let's go! By the way, we are running in standardized Mandarin. It is the quickest text that scrolls in this game, just so everyone is aware.
Yeah, it compresses the information both in 2 ways. In one, it just scrolls faster naturally. I'm not sure why they coded it that way, but it just moves faster than most other texts. And then also, Chinese has a way of compressing information just into less characters. So it's kind of a double whammy of time save.
After all that, we are now finally quitting out back to the bench here that I talked about a while ago. Imagine a death at any point during that. It's horrible for a speedrun. But we are coming up to the Watcher Knights here.
Yeah, and the Watcher Knights are guarding the first of the Dreamers that we mentioned before. That guy's being a huge jerk. He wouldn't let me get a third hit of soul there. I maybe should have even stuck around to hit him anyway, but there's some tight movement here. But yeah, the Watcher Knights will be guarding the first Dreamer that we're talking about. So this is the first actual mandatory boss that we'll be facing. We could have skipped every boss until this point, but not these guys. We're actually going to be using the Dream Nail there to farm some soul from the Watcher Knight's dreams.
Casually, this run, or these guys, tend to give people quite a bit of trouble. However, but for this, for the all-skill speedrun, it's quite simple to deal with them because they just die in 3 Descending Darks with Shaman Stone and Desolate Dark, or Descending Dark, of course. Jesus. He's getting a bit of unfortunate RNG, though. You kind of want them to stand still so you can hit the both of them together. But they're kind of rolling away from him, meaning all the damage won't tick onto them, and he's forced to use Shadesel, which is considerably less damage, about less than half actually, unless you get a double, of course. But these two finally collected together to finish them off. It was a nice fight, all things considered.
Yeah. Now there's just a little bit of movement. We'll be collecting that first dreamer that we talked about, but now would be a good time to read donations while we're on the way there.
Unfortunately, we don't have any donations as of right now, but I just wanted to quickly remind everyone that, you know, for those of you just joining us, we are the Benelux Speedrunner Gathering. We organize bi-monthly gatherings in the Benelux for speedrunners. Due to the situation surrounding COVID-19, we're currently doing our events online for the time being. This event features streamers from both the Benelux and the rest of the world, bringing you entertainment during the lockdown.
Heck yeah.
Thank you very much. And we're benefiting a great cause here. Mind, it is a mental health organization. They're seeking preventative measures for serious and potentially life-threatening mental illnesses. So I really encourage you to look up more about Mind and see if it's something that you'd want to support.
Absolutely.
Very much has my support. With that, however, we have unlocked the first seal that blocked the Black Egg Temple when we sucked up that dreamer there. Here we are getting all the geo we need for the rest of the run, the Watcher Knight's chest. It's definitely going to satiate us for the rest, what left we need to buy. However, right now we are coming up to what is a fairly scary portion of the game. Some consider it to be probably the second scariest of the whole run. That is the Isthmus tier split, which consists of 3 different skips, 1 spike tunnel and 2 acid skips. The spike tunnel is when you pogo and dash in between a really tight area, which both top and bottom will spike you. And an acid skip is when you C-dash across the top of acid when you're not supposed to normally. And we'll be coming up to the spike tunnel here. First try. Oh, let's go.
That's probably the tightest part of the trick, of these upcoming tricks. The next few are really down to a matter of science, though. Watch me jinx myself on this next one, because I don't have the most advanced strategy for it down pat, but I'm going to try it anyway. Yeah.
Good try. Ooh, that's a little low.
It's fine.
Oh, you got it. Nice, nice, nice.
I've found that lower makes that strat easier. Probably if you know what you're doing, it doesn't make a huge benefit, but...
Getting hit by the warmth there gives us early control, similar to how we got early control in Descending Dark. There we use spikes, here we use a worm. But now we're on 2 health, which is a little bit scary because there is an RNG section coming up soon. I like to call it RNG Bridge. I'm not sure if there's another name for it. Broken Bridge, I suppose. But here it is. We're going to be C-dashing across, and we can quite easily get hit there, but I'm cancelled very well.
Yeah, that enemy might have flown out of our way. It's at least impossible for me to tell. I'd rather not risk it on 2 HP, because getting bonked out of the C-dash can mean you immediately fall into spikes. And despite the fact that there are iframes in this game, they don't apply to spikes. So even if you have enemies from getting hit by an iframe, the spikes are still going to kill you. And yeah, 2 HP, instant death. Right there was a little trick actually, just to dash out of the room while that bench was loading. It ends the bench animation, and it doesn't actually save time in real time. But it does save time on our loadless split, which is what Hollow Knight normally uses during speedruns, is loadless time. So I find that to be a neat trick. Just the idea of just leaving a room and coming back to skip an animation is a little bit faster. But now we're going through these Malarks, these spitting artillery enemies. All of these guys are in our way to grab our next ability, the Monarch Wings, which is our double jump in the game. Oh, almost made it through that last one damageless, but that's alright. We know how to kill this boss just fine on 2 HP.
Base and skip? Oh, it's so close.
Oh, I got a frame drop right as I was trying that second try, but the first one is my bad. So is the fourth one.
This is a really difficult trick. It
I should
saves
probably go around.
it saves a considerable amount of time, but you can't also just go around.
Yeah, it's like you saw how fast we went around there. It's just about 2 seconds. If you can get that trick even second try, you'll break even, but...
Here is the broken vessel, however. There are some really neat... there is a really neat way to deal with it, where we fireball here and then get a double, and then this animation ends, we get another double there. So now the broken vessel is only 4 descending darks away from death. 1, 2, 3, and then we gotta farm up enough soul to be able to hit it. Ooh, no, that's rough, but that's okay. We can recover it. We took this bench here for a reason. This is one of them. We just have to go back, get our shade, and we'll have another chance at that boss. We won't be able to do that quick kill again, like I mentioned with the double fireballs. But I'm sure we'll be able to do it the second time around, no problem.
My biggest mistake there was allowing myself to get hit by the infection while trying to... It's Pollock's, man. I was trying to get Oat around... Trying to get around the, Trying to just farm some extra soul from the boss. And I just kind of ignored its attack and took some extra damage that I really didn't need to take. But, that missed pogo there is what killed me at the end. Probably shouldn't have gone for that either. Heal up a bit. We have a chance to redeem ourselves now at the base and skip. And don't worry, I think we'll make our estimate just fine still. 2-minute time loss about, maybe less.
Yeah, up to now, Sabi has been running an incredible run. Easily sub-hour. And it's just been very commendable. This, unfortunately, is one of the harder things to do in the game. What you really want to see is this headbang attack, which unfortunately Sabi cancelled out of. You hate to see that. But other than that, yeah, here we go. This is what you want to see. Because during that animation, the broken vessel cannot be staggered, and he's very susceptible to those ascending darts, which is pump stun damage.
Yeah, 88 damage in comparison to the Shade Soul, which does 40. So, again, more than double for the D-Dark. If you can get double hits with the Shade Soul, they're still very worthwhile, which is why we will still go for them. Also, the Descending Dart has the downgrade of very frequently knocking the enemies outside of its radius before it does all the damage. So, for bosses that won't stand still, there's only a couple of moments where we can D-Dark and get the full damage out of it.
Absolutely.
Speaking of bosses, we are coming up to another one. Do you remember Hornet from Green Path, our sibling who was quite angry at us for quote-unquote stalking her through the undergrowth? Don't know what that means, but... We will be facing off against her now, and this time she's really going to be putting us to the test. She'll be trying her hardest. She has some extra attacks, some traps that she'll set around the room, and she has her speed almost doubled, or more than doubled, I should say. And she's actually quite the enemy here, but like I said, she'll be testing us. This is actually a test of strength. She has now come to terms with the fact that the knight is not, the knight, our player character that is not just your average vessel, these creations that were almost Frankensteined into existence in order to contain the infection. She believes now that our knight could be the one to end, and we should be here, could be the one to end this infection once and for all. So she's going to give us one final test to make sure we are worthy of the title of king. And once we acquire that title, we'll have access to a gate that prevents us from getting 2 abilities. Being the Shade Cloak and the Abyss Shriek. The Shade Cloak is needed to access the true ending of the game. So this is the first, I consider this boss to be the first end game boss, or the, after you beat this boss, to be the beginning of the end game.
Yeah, absolutely. This unlocks not only those abilities that Sabi mentioned, but also multiple areas of the game. Either with the King's Brand, which we'll be getting, that marks us as king, or the abilities we get from it. But here we are at Hornetsu. Sabi's really looking for some doubles like that. That does 80 damage and adds another tick to her stagger count, which we are trying to make her stagger lock, just like the fight before. What we are not looking for is parries, which she has. I think she was about to do it there, but Sabi got the hit. Yeah. Parries is when she brings the nail over her face, like that, and it blocks all damage, including spell damage for some reason.
Yeah, it's funny that we have a spell that can travel through all walls, but against her magic,
Oh no.
it's fine. Yeah, I was gonna say, she should be done.
Alright, very good fight. It's actually pretty much optimal to end on 1 health, because if you didn't, you weren't using your health correctly. But here we are getting the King's Brand. The Kingdom of Hollownest has recognized its new king.
Yeah, and while we are on 1 HP, we do get a quick heal. After fighting us, Hornet has decided she's tested us enough, and even though the corpse of the old king collapses on top of us, which is actually what that structure was, she decides to rescue us from the Graven Ash and pull us out of there on full HP as well. Now, funnily enough, because I went for a form of early control, we actually can't see my HP, but trust me, it's at full. We are probably going to be face tanking at least 2 damage coming up, just to get out of here optimally. And well, if we're not at full HP, we'll be sure to know about it.
Yep, definitely. Early control is another portion of the early patch I've talked about a few times already. Definitely helps to run in this patch. But
I'll be trying not to ask too much about the donations, just to not put any pressure on people. But please just let us know if during one of these slowest sections, ring the bell, the stag's already here. If during one of these slower sections there are more donations to come, because
I do have 1 donation waiting right now. I've just been waiting for the moment to try and swoop in.
all right, well that's perfect.
Alright, we've got 10 euros from Bumpanada saying, "Love Hollow Knight. Happy Father's Day to all the dads, and thanks for always putting on such great events."
Bumpanada, definitely a Hollow Knight fan there. Love to see it. Bumpanada is one of the fictional words of this world that the fans have latched onto. One of the shopkeepers likes to say it every single time you walk into her shop. And well, it's become a bit of a meme. Really appreciate that donation. Again, it's a really good cause we're fighting for today. So.
Indeed. There are a lot of interpretations of that word. I believe the donator said it was Bumpanada. Gidge in the chat says Boppanada. Some people say Boffanada. It's definitely up to interpretation what you think it is, but everyone agrees at least it's a nada at the end. And here we are at our second nail master, getting our second nail art. Cyclist S is actually quite the interesting ability, because as you've been seeing throughout the room, we've been doing these things called inventory dropping, which allows us to drop quickly. Cyclone Slash also allows us to drop quickly when charged up and used. However, it also allows us to move side to side, unlike what inventory drop does. The only stipulation is that it's a very quick burst of speed, unlike inventory drops where you could just keep going and going. So it's definitely situational on which one uses which, or which situation uses which. By the way, speaking of infection from before, it has spread. The crossroads is now infected, and as you can see, it's taken a big toll on its creatures.
Yeah, these enemies now deal double damage. Most of them explode, or they deal double damage if they explode on you. Like this enemy, for example, right here. If we were to kill it, it would have almost a fuse and tick down, and yeah, explode into an AoE, deal double damage. Not something you would have to deal with before. It definitely, after killing one of the Dreamers or acquiring the Monarch Wings, that infection is triggered, and it definitely puts a fire under the player to try to cure this infection, because the immediate thought, at least for me when I saw that, was wondering which area of the game would become infected next. So with that in mind, we will be moving on to the next dream, which is again protecting the Hollow Knight, that failed container for the infection.
This boss coming up is the one that will be guarding the second Dreamer we will collect, Monomon, as this one is called. There is a one cycle that we'll be hopefully presenting for you today. It starts by clinging to the side of this wall. We're just trying to bait this jellyfish called Umu to a very specific location so that we can push it into, or unless you're going for a different one cycle. There's a couple different versions of the one cycle. Okay, we're not going with the version I was trying to explain. We're going to be just blasting it full of damage here. Descending Dark, bunch of nailheads. Shadesol, Shadesol, Shadesol. One cycle Umu. You love to see it. Good job, Sabi.
Yeah, I really have to give shoutouts to the Hollow Knight community. They're constantly labbing out new strats, even when we already know how to do a one cycle. We have a member of our community, Velignative, or Veligo, as he's called now, who decided to try to import a one-cycle method from the current patch of the game, and he successfully did so. And I found that to be a lot easier than the initial setup that we go for. So, shout out to the Hollow Knight community. Huge, accepting, and wonderful community.
Absolutely. Here is the second Dreamer.
Shout out
right
to
away.
Underlane too, who was the one who created that strat in the current patch. I always want to remember that. Valley always reminds me that he didn't come up with the strat. He just imported it. Underlane.
And there is the second of 3 seals unlocked before we can fight the Hollow Knight. By the way, this infection is caused by a creature called the Radiance, or the Ominous Light I talked about at the start of the game. It's caused a sort of hive mind amongst all the husks that we see around, as well as likely killing them and bending them to the Radiance as well.
Yeah. She's a vengeful god, so to speak, that's unleashed this plague. And quite frankly, she needs to be stopped. However, stopping her at the source would be the true ending of this game. And we're actually not doing the true ending. So we're just going to go with the temporary measure of replacing the Hollow Knight as the vessel for her infection.
Absolutely. There is a whole portion of lore in this game where you realize that these creations, this little knight, the Hollow Knight, and more, were created in attempts to seal away the Radiance. What the Radiance does is it attracts to emotion and takes over that somehow. But if a vessel has no emotions at all, there is nothing it can latch onto and infect. So the Pale King, or our father, Little Knight's father, was trying to create vessels that have no emotion at all, so that they could seal the Radiance inside it. They thought they had that with the Hollow Knight, but unfortunately, it did gain some emotion somewhere along the line. which caused the ceiling obviously to fail, which is why we're here now, trying to remedy the faults of our father in the past.
And now we're on our way to the final nail art of the game. It's really, really unnecessary in terms of our quest, but we're not doing any percent. We're doing all skills. We need to grab this. We used this nail art a total of 2 times. Once to break a wall optimally, and a second time to get some early control in the well. The nail arts are much more powerful if you actually upgrade your nail. But since upgrading the nail costs resources in terms of money and certain collectibles called the Pale Ore, most speedruns neglect to ever upgrade the nail even once. Because at maximum damage, the nail does 21 damage per hit, whereas the spells we're using end up doing 40, 88, and 120 damage with Shaman Stone. So there's really no comparison to be had with the damage there. Please tell me I took the bench in the archives.
You did.
Okay, sorry. This is one of the important benches that we quit out. This is actually the last bench that we quit out to. We are now done with benches, hopefully. If we die, we'll end up right back here. And we have a very long split ahead of us, so we're going to be focusing on not doing that.
It's not technically the last quit out, but it is the last bench.
Oh, you're right. We do quit out at Shade Soul. I actually think I'll skip that today, just because it's not faster in real time. And
Yeah,
we're not on PB pace here, and this marathon is being timed for real time, so...
That is fair. You got a point there. But
Yeah.
then, now we get to see the cool animation.
Yeah, there's a cool animation for pretty much every acquired skill in the game. We've skipped most of them. Actually took damage trying to go for a safety strat there. Really counterproductive, but that's fine.
Here we are. This is the arena for the 3rd ability in the game. We've already gotten the first 2 abilities and upgraded them before even coming to this section. Just shows how out of the way it is. But with that arena, we are getting our
Howling Rays.
Howling Rays. I confused them so much. I apologize.
No, it's alright.
But as you can see, there's the Fireball ability, which is left and right, Setting Darkness, which is our down ability, and Howling Rays, which is our up ability. We're not going to be using Howling Rays at all, pretty much. We will be using its upgrade a little bit for a very specific thing, but we'll mention that when it comes. But for now, we are pretty much just on a collectathon quest. We have one more Dreamer and a few more abilities to pick up. Right now, we're just heading right through Queen's Gardens to collect the 3rd Dreamer. This is just the quickest way to get to Deep Mist, which houses Hera, the final Dreamer we collect.
That arena is basically just a little demonstration of why we never upgrade our nail. Why would you ever upgrade your nail when you have the perfect way to one-shot 90% of the enemies in this game? The spells are so much faster to acquire. Really, really optimal for speedruns. There's never really been a question about it.
Yeah, I believe in the early days in speedruns, people would go and upgrade the nail, but it's been optimized so much that people are just like, yeah, no, we don't need it. Ooh, unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely timed that a bit wrong, but that's fine. We have a spot to heal up here right before we enter Deep Nest. It's a much longer section of darkness. That was not. The heal button is also the spell button in this game by default. And I went to go for a heal and changed my mind a little too quickly, so the game decided I wanted to shoot a spell there. Yeah, I actually think 3 HP should be fine here. We do know these rooms quite well, and if we don't, we have bigger problems on our hands than 3 HP. Because we will probably just die here now.
Here's another dark room, by the way. This one's quite significantly longer than the last one we had. Ooh. But we also know these rooms just as well as the first one. We're already almost done.
It's also a lot less intense. Unlike the first dark room, which only has a few tiny platforms, while the rest of the room is just embroidered with spikes. This one, the marathon nerves are getting to me. I'm doing a little bit of funky movement here.
Woo!
Really funky movement. Don't do that. If you fall there, the run is really just over. I would have to quit out to archives. I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing that happened. Our death in the oh no. Our death in the broken vessel fight was pretty bad, but
So normally with this area, you have to take that bench there, which something kind of strange happens. But for this speed run, we're going to skip that for now.
yeah. As long as you have the wings there, go right up that hallway, and we're a bit far. Okay.
With this build, it is quicker to just go right through and get the hair this way. And with this, the third and final seal will be unlocked for the Black Egg Temple. We're not quite going to head there yet. We still have a couple things left we need to collect, but we are nearly ready to face the Hollow Knight.
And I want to give a little bit of extra time for donations now, if we have any more. We're just making our way to the final two abilities of the game, and until the Shade Cloak, not too much is going to be going on. We're not going that way.
Okay, well, unfortunately, no donations as of right now, but, you know, Sylvia, as you said earlier, we are raising money for Mind, which is a nationwide organization committed to prevent mental health issues and to support everyone who is dealing with mental issues themselves or within their family. All of your donations will go to Mind. In every region of the world, mental disorders suppress 10% of the population. Governments seem to lack momentum in reducing the burden of mental health problems, as only 55% of mental health awareness and only 8% have suicide prevention plans. Organizations like Mind help raise awareness to the issue, helping us get one step closer to a world where everyone gets the help that they need.
It's a beautiful cause, honestly.
And we would also like to thank ESA for supporting the event and for allowing us to stream on their channel. For information about their upcoming events and any changes due to the COVID-19 outbreak, be sure to check out esamarathon.com.
Please do.
Thank you
we've-
very much.
Thank you, yes. We've arrived at the Abyss. Well, we will be arriving at the Abyss. As soon as that door opens, we're going to do a swag door, though. We dash all the way over here and then dash back as soon as it opens. You love to see it. And then we're going to do a massive drop down into the Abyss. Here, you can start to realize the work the Pale King went through. You only got to see it for a moment, but the floor was riddled with just a bunch of masks that kind of look similar to our knights, a little different, of course. But those are all of the siblings of, and these are their shades here, that the Pale King created. Attempts to make a motionless vessel that will seal up the radiance.
And all the ones that failed were cast down into the abyss where they were born to die. And as morbid as that is, in the true ending of the game, we actually do redeem our siblings, and they help us take down the Radiance. But this time, we're going to leave them behind, sadly, and find redemption just in ourselves in replacing the Hollow Knight.
Here, we are getting the second to last skill in the game. It's Shade Soul. We're stuck in this pool here, but boom. It's not a bad thing. It gives us an upgrade.
Yeah, that animation is actually quite scary when you first jump into it, because all of a sudden you lose control of your character and you're not quite sure what's going on. The void surrounds you and encompasses you, and you're not quite sure what's going on, but the reward of this ability is incredible. It is an slightly increased dash length. I dashed too high. I shouldn't have done that. But The increased dash length is pretty good, but the real kicker is the iframes that you get from it. You can now pass through enemies and their attacks, and we can also, in the true ending of the game, go through these shade gates that normally block off massive areas of the game. But we won't be handling that. We're just going to grab this final spell here, the Abyss Shriek.
Which is the final skill in the game. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's also the highest damage ability in the game, other than the Cyclone Slash with an upgraded nail.
No, really? Oh my gosh!
Excellent. Apparently a gold sound. My bad on that. I should not have had that part. That's our friend Gala. She's actually done a few runs for ESA, so shoutouts to Galasuni, Bayonetta runner. Oh, ooh! I shouldn't have been charging a nail right there, but that was.
Here we are at Abyss Climb. This is easily the most exciting portion of the game. All of these skills and abilities are collected for now, movement-wise anyway, is going to go right into this Abyss Climb. And when optimized, it is such an amazing thing to watch. And Sabi is unfortunately having a little bit of a struggle right now, but I'm sure he'll be able to pull himself together.
Yeah. The triple spike there is probably the most fun movement, but as I'll show off here, you can actually just go straight around it. Probably should have done that in the first place. I haven't practiced that too much, but I feel like I should have been able to get through it. It's fine.
Yeah, everything else has been really clean. You don't have to worry about it.
Do we have time for some donations?
Yes.
Okay, alright, we have €1.65 from Serpin saying shoutouts to 56 Wasabi and Sylvie. You're doing us proud, Holody.
Yeah.
We've also got 14 euros from Anonymous saying hello.
Hello,
Hi.
Anonymous. Thank you for donating.
Thank you.
And thank you to Serpent. Shoutouts to 56.
Shoutouts to 56.
Our boy genius coder in the community. And honestly, Serp is one of our genius coders too. She helped program our debug, which helps us practice. She added some features, and they really changed the way I practice. So I don't think I could be doing this run nearly as well without that contribution from her.
But we are coming up to the final boss of the game. Any helicopter minute?
No, I don't.
Now that the Black Egg Temple has been unsealed, we break the door open and we hear the scream of the Hollow Knight. We are on our way to finish the job, finish the run.
Yeah, and again, one of the darker themes of this game is this conflict, or not necessarily conflict, because all the siblings have the same goal, and yet we have to face off against each other multiple times. Hornet, we have to fight twice just to get through her tests. The Hollow Knight is a sibling that we definitely have to take on in order to finish any ending of the game. And we'll be trying to take them on as fast as possible with a vicious ability here.
Yeah, you haven't seen it much throughout the run, but we will be using Abyss Shriek for the majority of this fight. It does do the most damage, and it is just a little awkward, but in a pretty optimal space to be able to get all the ticks damage off onto the Hollow Knight. Normally it's meant for enemies above you, but with how tall he is and how he hunches over a bit, you can just get the damage off, and it is the most damaging ability in the whole game. So we definitely want to use it to get the damage as quick as possible. We're having a pretty good fight. What we don't want to see is the dashes, but we're already at this phase, which, yeah, that's a very good fight from Sabi there.
Hopefully not a gold.
We will be coming up to the end of the speedrun.
Yeah, time should be coming down in about 5 seconds. I'm gonna start counting. 4, 3, 2, 1. Should be time.
Lovely. GG's.
Oh, that was a pretty good run, outside of the death that we took at the Broken Vessel. But I'm pretty happy with that. Shoutouts to the Hollow Knight community again. Shoutouts to Sirakura, my friend who submitted this run to the BSG group. She did not have the opportunity to come here today, so I filled in for her, but she's a fantastic member of our community.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, shout outs to 56.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, I just want to quickly thank Anonymous for the €10 donation. Keep saying that. No comment, unfortunately, but thank you nonetheless. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that lovely Hollow Knight run. Don't go anywhere, because after a quick break, it's the moment you've all been waiting for, the exciting schedule reveal. And afterwards, of course, some final words from our staff. See you in a bit.
Oh wait, we gotta talk to Elderbug, right?
Oh, isn't that right?
Oh! Yeah, true, actually.
Yeah. I'm glad I
Thank you
remembered
so
that last second. Yeah.
Thank you,
Oh man. So we gotta go through the credits. It's unfortunately a bit of a wait, but we will be talking to Elderbug. Do you want to switch to English for that?
Yeah, maybe. Sorry about that. We probably should have talked to him. I should have thought about that. We should have talked to him before the credit sequence.
Yeah.
This credit sequence is quite long and unskippable. The only way to skip it is to quit out of the game entirely, which I think at this point would probably take just as long. But yeah, we could have both the objectives of talking to the Elderbug and killing Mila are towards the are right next to the Hollow Knight. Really, it's why it's become somewhat of a tradition to do one or the other between runners. The tradition really formed during the All Skills tournament that is only just coming to a close. And yeah, when a racer would finish early, they would take the time to do one or the other just to keep something going on their screen while their other runner finished, or we're doing interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Here it shows our completion percentage soon. Should be 35% if we've acquired all the skills. Hopefully we have. 35%, look at that. And yeah, that really just shows how big this game is when after an hour and 7 minutes of in-game time, well, kind of fake in-game time, that's what loads counted or something. It's really hard to tell exactly what it means, but yeah, after an hour and 7 minutes, after collecting the abilities almost as efficiently as possible, there's still 65% of the game left, and actually even more than that, over 70% of the game, because at this patch of the game goes all the way up to 106%.
Current patch goes to 112.
Yep.
Back out of the well that we went down so many times.
Alright, let's see if we can switch to English. Actually, this is going to be a pretty difficult maneuver. Fourth one down?
Second
Yeah,
down, I believe.
It's this one. No? Second and then what? No.
Oh,
Okay.
no. Okay.
You know what? It's fine. We'll talk to Elderbug in Chinese. Regardless of what language you're speaking to Elderbug in, he seems to understand our silent protagonist didn't mean to leave him behind. We just had a kingdom to save. And now that we've saved it, we have the time to talk to him. And in fact, we can sit on his bench right next to him, which he suggests. Even though it may be iron, it's quite comfortable.
Alright. Now that should wrap things up for us.
All right. Well, as I said earlier, up next, schedule reveal, and then afterwards some word from our staff. So see you in a bit.
Bye!